What's up guys, my name is Matthew and today I'm recommending you books set in academia. Alright, before we begin, we have to address the thumbnail. I am very much aware that that thumbnail is so weird. Me with my little North Face with my LSU shirt holding books on a college campus. I'm aware it's weird, but you know, we're doing the most here on Reading with Matthew and I'm keeping it, I'm posting it. Normally I make the video, then make the thumbnail. In this situation, the thumbnail came first and we're taking that energy into the video of weirdness and just, you know, embracing it. And I'm sure people who know me in person are gonna be like, is Matthew okay? He's posting weird shit again on YouTube. And I'm great, I'm fine.
Judge me if you want, but I do not care. I have never, ever been happier.
I'm fine, I promise. But yeah, you're very much allowed to make fun of me because that thumbnail is so weird, but we're sticking with it. In this video, I'm gonna break down the genres like I normally do. So I'm gonna have academia books that are thriller, romance, horror, fantasy. Some categories have more recommendations than others because I tend to, you know, read more thrillers than I do horror and fantasy. But I do have some book recommendations for all of these categories. Timestamps will be down below. Let's start with thriller. If you've watched any of my videos, the first book will not come as a surprise and you're probably sick and tired of me talking about it. But I'm gonna start with In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is the quintessential college-y angst, selfish vibes that you love about academia. It's all about friends partying, going to class. Everything you think about college is in this book. And in this book, we follow a girl named Jessica. And Jessica is one of a group of 7 who are best friends in college. They do everything together, they party, they're in the same groups. And one day, one of the 7 friends gets murdered. Another of the 7 friends gets accused of murdering that person and gets arrested and takes the blame for murdering that person. We flash forward 10 years and the rest of the friends are coming back for a 10-year reunion. And you start to realize that, you know, maybe the guy who was accused of murdering their friend wasn't the one really responsible for the murder. Maybe he was. So this book is flashing forward and flashing back from different timelines, 10 years previous when they're in college, 10 years into the future when they're all established, you know, in their career. And they're coming back to the college for the first time, reliving the night that their friend got murdered. Everything about this book is just so good. All of the college vibes, all of the flawed characters, every character in this book is flawed, has problems, has secrets. You know, they remind me of my friends. Like, I would be friends with some of the people in this book. These characters are flawed, they're my friends.
Wait, is this fucking play about us?
But yeah, this book is fantastic if you want the college vibes. If you're a thriller reader and you have not read this, I don't know what you're waiting for because I'm done talking about this. Ashley Winstead's one of my new favorite.
Could you say that again?
Bitch, I was not talking. Okay, I was not talking to you. Thank you so much. But yes, I do recommend this book and I'm gonna die on this hill until everyone who's watched my video has read it. Okay, but yes, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, all the college vibes, everything you think about college is in this book, and I just adore it. The next book I'm gonna talk about is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I'm gonna be honest, I very much dislike this book. And you're probably thinking, well, if you disliked it so much, why are you recommending it? Because this book is one of those where you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. You either fall on one side. For example, Books in La La and Noel Gallagher love this book, 5 stars. I gave it 2 stars. The plot is very similar to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. So when I heard about it, I was like super pumped. I'm like, yeah, it's another book set in academia that I would love. It fell flat for me. No, it didn't just fall flat. It like made me angry, but I'm gonna talk about it. This book is about a group of 7 friends and they're at this like prestigious Shakespeare school where they study Shakespeare and they're actors. Like I'm trying not to be mean about this book because I think it's well written. If you don't like Shakespeare or you don't want to read a third of the book with the characters quoting Shakespeare, I would not pick up this book because it is so heavy on the Shakespeare and it took away from the book. But the plot is similar. There's this guy named Oliver who's in the friend group who kind of takes the fall for the murder of one of the friends. And we're flashing forward into the present day when he's let out of jail and you're kind of figuring out what happened that night that the group of 7 friends, you know, one of them got murdered, what happened, what really happened. Plot's very similar. When I was talking about In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, I talked about how flawed the characters were and I still liked it. I saw myself in the characters. These characters are so pretentious. All they do is quote Shakespeare at each other. And like, they're those people when you're just, you know, you see them at a party and you're like, oh fuck, here come Romeo and Juliet. Like you don't want to be stuck in a conversation with them.
Here comes that vulgar brown woman. Quickly get up before she sits with us.
And I would never associate with these people. I think they're just very pretentious. That's fine, you know, whatever, not everyone would get along. These people are fiction, Matthew, stop thinking like they're real. Because I know people like this in real life, and I think that's why I didn't like it so much. It's very pretentious. I also don't like Shakespeare. Like, I don't read it. I don't think it's interesting. I read it in school. I would never read that for pleasure. If you do like Shakespeare, awesome. You might like this book more than I did. But yeah, it's, you know, it just wasn't for me. It did have the thriller vibes. The mystery was pretty good. I did enjoy the mystery. But other than that, you know, it just wasn't for me. But I'm gonna still talk about it because I think some of you would like it. Especially if you're okay with reading Shakespearean quotes and having the characters talk to each other and using quoting.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Am I saying?
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Am I saying? I'm not talking to you. Like, why do you keep listening to me? Scary. Also, a weird thing about this book is that when I'm reading it, I feel like I'm in the UK, you know, because half of the book is in Shakespeare quotes. So I'm getting this UK vibe, and then all of a sudden the characters are like, oh, gotta go catch a plane at O'Hare. And I'm like, wait, like, and it would just remind me this book is set in the United States. And I am very much aware that you can study Shakespeare in the United States, but just the vibe of this is so UK, and I don't know, it just really threw me off. I didn't enjoy it, but a lot of people did. It's a good thriller, and it has all the academia vibes. You're on this little campus, you know, and everyone's close to each other, all the drama, who's sleeping with who. So it has everything like that you're looking for, but just going with it, knowing that it's very heavy on the Shakespeare. Shakespeare. What? How did I say it? All right, the next thriller academia book I'm gonna recommend is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. And this is a very popular book. It was a book of the month way back, and this guy's very popular. So I think most of you have probably already heard about this book, but I'm still gonna talk about it just in case someone hasn't. This book is about a group of women who are at Cambridge University, and they're in this group called the Maidens. And they're really obsessed with this like special teacher who's like a teacher of Greek tragedy. One of the girls dies. And we're following this woman named Mariana, who's like a therapist. And Mariana's niece, Zoe, was friends with one of the maidens who died and got murdered. Mariana thinks that this teacher, who everyone loves and adores, is a murderer. She thinks that this guy is responsible for the murders, so she kind of becomes a detective and tries to figure out, you know, what really went down in this murder. Is this teacher really behind the murder of Zoe's friend? I gave it 3 stars. Every one of this guy's, Alex Michaelides' books, I always guess the twist. I don't, you know, and I've come to the conclusion that maybe, you know, me and him have similar brains, so I can see where he's going with the book. So I always end up giving his books 3 stars because I guess it. I think it's well written. I think the strongest part of the book is the academia vibes. It's very, I hate saying dark academia because I feel like that's just not used properly. And yeah, it's just like you're set at Cambridge, just like there's a murder. You don't know if you can trust the teachers. It has all the like the vibes, the spooky, scary vibes that you're looking for in dark academia. So I would recommend this if you're looking for another thriller and you haven't, you know, jumped on this bandwagon because, you know, obviously it's very popular. But yes, The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Okay, the next 2 thriller books that I'm gonna recommend to you are not set in college. They're set in high school. I'm still gonna recommend them to you because it still has that same young adult vibe where, you know, it's angsty, selfish people who are coming to terms with things. And both of these books are set in like really pretentious upper class high schools. So I think it has the same vibe of academia that I like in academia or like reading about. And the first book is gonna be Aces of Spades. Fantastic. This book is always, you know, being classified as Gossip Girl meets Get Out. And honestly, that's just exactly what it is. It's about these 2 black students at this very white school. It's a very pretentious school in New York, and we follow Chiamaka and Devin. And Chiamaka and Devin get placed on to be prefects, which, you know, is like a very prestigious role at the high school. Their senior year, they start getting targeted by this character named Aces. Think like Gossip Girl or, you know, A from Pretty Little Liars, where you don't know who Aces is, but they're targeting Chiamaka and Devin. This book is fucked up, you know? It's a young adult book. It's a young adult book that I gave 4 stars to, and I never like young adult books, especially thrillers, so I loved it. I love the vibes. It gives you that like boarding school, but it's not a boarding school vibe where, you know, everything's pretentious and everyone has money, and it's just, you know, the teachers, who can you trust them? I love the vibes. If you're looking for, you know, academia vibes, but at a younger level, I definitely recommend Ace of Spades. All right, the next high school book I'm gonna recommend is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I read this one back in December, I believe. And this also is following a school that's very pretentious. All the students go to Ivy Leagues. All the teachers, you know, get talked down to by the parents because the parents wanna make sure the students have A's. And I'm not gonna tell you too much about this book because I think this is one of those that you need to go in knowing nothing. But it's about a guy named Teddy who's a teacher at this school. And he just kind of resents all the students, resents all the parents because they treat him like trash. He just won Teacher of the Year award, and at his school, deaths start happening, and the deaths start looking like they're murders, and we're just following what happens at this school. There are so many twists and turns. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will always remember this book because I had it on audiobook, and I was stuck in a COVID vaccine. I was stuck in like a COVID testing line the day before Christmas because there was like an outbreak at my office, and I was in the car for 4 hours to get tested for COVID, and this book kept me sane during that time. So I will always be thankful for this book, but it has all the vibes of, you know, the pretentious high school where everyone's rich, everyone has money, and I definitely recommend this book because it's such a fun ride. Okay, I have one fantasy book that I'm gonna recommend, and that is Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, probably pronounced that wrong. This book is set at Yale, and I adored the atmosphere. This is dark academia. It was just Yale, but all it was about was like secret societies at Yale, and I was so interested in that part. The part that I didn't like was that it was fantasy and you were dealing with magic and demons, and I was just like, get rid of that. Like, I'm not interested in that. Make this a regular murder mystery set at Yale, because it is so fascinating how Yale has these secret societies. I'm assuming this is true. I haven't looked it up. Maybe Yale doesn't, who knows? But it's about a girl named Alex. And Alex is, you know, comes from a lower class family out in Los Angeles, and she moves over to Yale in New Haven. And she received a scholarship from this society that kind of watches how all these secret societies at Yale operate to make sure they're not breaking any rules. That's really all you need to know going in. I mean, there's a lot of demons, and there's a whodunit aspect that I liked, but this whodunit aspect could have just been a simple murder. This is the killer. But it's all about like demons, and you know, there's monsters, there's magic. And if you're into that, then you're gonna love this book because it is fantastic. I loved the vibes. Like, honestly, I wish this book was written not fantasy. I want this book in regular everyday terms. So if you know a book that's set at Yale that talks about secret societies, I would be so interested in reading about it because I was so fascinated about this aspect of the book. And I just felt like, for me personally, I was not interested in like the fantasy aspect of this book. I wanted just a regular book at Yale, and that's why I gave it 3 stars. But the vibes in this book are fantastic. So if you're looking for a fantasy book set in academia, set at Yale, this is the one I would recommend for you. So the one horror book that I'm gonna recommend set in academia is Bunny by Mona Awad. This is another one of those books where you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. I personally did not fall into the love category. I thought it was a little silly. That being said, most people love this book. I know Gabby Reed's loved it. I know Books and Lala's like one of her favorite books of all time. So it's one of those books that's hit or miss for you. I wanted to recommend it to you and tell you a little bit about it just in case you would be interested. When I describe it to you, it's gonna sound pretty cool, but it's set at this like Northeast university, and there's a girl named Samantha, I think that's her name. I could be, maybe it's something else, but she's on scholarships, so she doesn't come from any money. And that seems to be a theme in these books set in academia. Someone comes from a lower class going to like this prestigious school. Anyway, so she goes to this school, and there's these 3 really rich girls, and they refer to each other as Bunny. Think Mean Girls. It has very much Mean Girl vibes, but Mean Girls, that's horror. I'm going into a horror book. I like to know if I'm gonna be dealing with supernatural elements because I need to know that going in or I get pissed off. This book does have that weird, like, a lot of things that happen in this book would not happen in real life. So go into it knowing that, or you'll be disappointed. But these girls are just like in this, like, it's like almost like a cult, and they just do weird ass shit. And Samantha gets invited to kind of join the bunnies. Weird fucking shit happens in this book, and some people just eat it up. I think it's fantastic. I personally just thought it was just weird and silly. Didn't vibe with me, but it's set at a college. The whole thing is about, you know, popular rich girls who are at this university, and they invite this other girl into their group, and just the weird shit they gotta do. It's literally Mean Girls, but just dark. Yes, that's the one horror book I could think of off the top of my head I would recommend that are horror and set in academia. All right, let's switch over to romance. The first one I'm gonna talk about, I've talked about on my channel a lot because it's one of my favorite male-male romances, and it is top secret. This book is set in academia, set in college. It follows this guy named Luke and this guy named Keaton, and they're both in the same fraternity. Keaton has a girlfriend. Luke is openly gay. Keaton gets on the equivalent of Grindr, which is like an app to meet, you know, gay people and stuff like that. And when he's on there, he starts talking to this guy who's Luke, and they're bantering, getting to know each other, but they don't realize that they're wanting, you know, they know each other. They're just, you know, starting to get to know each other with, you know, fake screen names. And both of these men are in the fraternity, and both of the men are competing to be frat president. You know, I'm not all into the frat. I was not in a fraternity in college, so don't let that discourage you if you're like, I don't want to read about fraternity people. It is an adorable book. It is so cute. They're like banter, and they're just chemistry, and, you know, a little bit of smut. I highly recommend if you're looking for a male-male romance. set in academia. This has all the vibes. It's super short. I really want to reread this one soon because I just adored it. But yes, this will be the first romance book I would recommend to you. Another male-male romance that I recently read is The Place Between by Kit Oliver. This is about a guy named Ned who is bisexual, who recently got a divorce, and he has a daughter, and he's up at this university trying to get his thesis published. He's having struggles with it. He's at this university where like the dean doesn't want the teachers to work, or the professors to work a lot. So he like locks their VPN and locks the doors to the university so they can't work. That part of the book was stupid. That would never happen. You're never encouraged not to work. So that was the only problem I had with this book. But Ned, when Ned was in college, he had this professor that was so hard on him and so just like unpleasant, very, you know, stick up his butt, very cold. And he has to work with this professor to get his thesis published. And the story follows their romance. It is a slow burn, super cute, love the banter. But yeah, this was another one that's completely set in academia. It's set from the stage that not a student. This is set from more of the professors. So that's a little bit different where you're dealing with professors and you're not dealing with students, people who are in college more. You get to see the side of it from, you know, professors. I don't think it's realistic because, like I said, the way the dean was running things, I was like, that's very pleasant and very nice, but that would never happen in real life. That being said, I think it's a cute romance. Definitely recommend The Place Between. On the same level as, you know, not students, but dealing with professors, we have The Love Hypothesis, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. It's been all over BookTube. It was a book of the month in December or January, somewhere around then. But this book is about a girl named Olive who is in STEM, and she's, you know, trying to get her degree in something sciencey. She has a best friend who wants to date her ex, and she doesn't want her best friend to think like, oh, I still have feelings for my ex. So she goes and kisses this guy named Adam, who's like a very hotshot professor at this university. And they start fake dating. It's the fake dating trope. You get to know them, you get to see them. I personally didn't buy their romance, but I'm in the minority. Most people love this book. There was one character in this book who I despise. If you've read the book, you know who I'm talking about. I still think about him to this day because he was just such an awful fucking person. But this book is cute. For me, it wasn't a, you know, groundbreaking romance. It didn't give me all the butterflies, but for a lot of people it did. So if you're looking for a male-female romance set in academia, especially, you know, the sciencey end of academia, I would recommend this to you because it is very cute. I have a feeling this would be turned into a movie because it has very movie vibes. So watch this be a movie. The last books I want to recommend to you in this video is the Off-Campus series. I have read all 4 of the Off-Campus series, and it is about these 4 hockey roommates. They're all these men that live in a house together, and each book is set from one of the roommates' perspective. Each book you get to see one of the hockey members, their love story. What I loved about it is like each book you get to see characters that you met in previous books. So it's like you get to, you know, you're still in the world. It's very smutty, like hot sex scenes. It's light, it's nothing deep. It's very much just like romance. You want the drama, you want the sex scenes, easy read. Highly recommend the Off-Campus series. In my opinion, the first book is the best. I loved the romance in the first book. And then I liked the 4th book. I think the 2 in the middle, I was kind of like, eh. But that being said, I can't really tell you much about any of the books because there's like one book ends and that's how you get to the next book and like who's the romance interest in the next book. But if you're looking for something light, romantic, with all the college-y feels, it's all about these hockey guys who have to, you know, be hockey players. They have to be sports in college, but at the same time, they have to keep their grades up. And, you know, you get all the frat parties, but at the same time, them in the classroom vibes. So yeah, if you're looking for something light, I would go with the Off-Campus series. Read the first one. You'll either like it or you'll think this is trash. And, you know, sometimes we're looking for trash. Highly recommend it. But those are all the books I'm going to recommend today. I love books set in academia. If you have any recommendations, please let me know because I'm always looking for more. This list wasn't that big. I thought I've read more books set in academia. I'm probably forgetting some. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in another video soon.